You know, I never know when we're live. I see it's live up in the corner, uh, but you just never know. You know, so it's wait. Do we go on three or do we go after three? You know, it's always one of those. All right, I'm going to assume we're live now. Hello, everyone. Welcome. It's Tuesday afternoon, early evening, or late night, depending on where you are in the world. And it's our Facebook Live, and I'm really excited. I've got a guest today that has all of us tickled. We're all tickled. We're already laughing, all of us. It's Fran Drescher. So Fran, hello. Welcome to our show.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. We're all wearing glasses for your show today.
Yes, that we are. For me, it's because I've been
I
flying
guess we
so
see
much.
things better.
Yeah, hopefully so. That's our goal, isn't it? That is our goal.
It is. It is indeed.
Yes. So you're on the West Coast now, is that right?
Yes, I am. I'm
Okay.
bi-coastal, but right now I'm in beautiful California.
And I'm in Washington, D.C. I'm at the Institute for Functional Medicine's 5-day course, Applied Functional Medicine and Clinical Practice. And
oh, wow. That sounds interesting.
it really is. It really, now, you know, this is our event where when docs first want to learn about functional medicine, they come to this event. They give us 5 days of their life, you know, and we start at 6:30 in the morning and we go until 7:30 at night for 5 days. And they're just in complete overwhelm. But
yes.
we
well, you know, I think that the doctors that start to embrace functional medicine kind of went to medical school, drank the Kool-Aid, started practicing, got woke, and realized maybe there's a better way, a better entryway to solving the problem of dis-ease.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And we start off by telling them, you're going to be overwhelmed. It's okay. It's okay to be overwhelmed. And what you'll learn are the basic tenets that you'll be wrestling with for the next number of months until you really dial this in.
Once you wake up and smell the coffee, it's hard to go back to sleep.
It's hard to go back. And that's what it's like when you get a diagnosis that scares the bejesus out of you, is that it's overwhelming. And so what doctors are going through here in their education, so many people that you talk to and that you are servicing are just in complete overwhelm. So
well, you know, I'm a survivor and a thriver, and I've had the good fortune of meeting many doctors who got woke like yourself. And what I usually say to people is, look, this is a very personal journey, but open yourself up to seeing other options so you can make an informed decision.
That's right. That's exactly right. That's a great way of saying it. And I wanted to start with this because people are here with autoimmune diseases. Some of them have cancer. Some of them have chronic fatigue so bad they can't function. Some of them have seen 10, 12, 15 doctors. You know, the list goes on and on from people all over the world and what they've gone through. And guys, tonight we've got Fran Drescher in the house, so you can send in your questions. I've got my cell phone. I'm seeing the questions, and I'll be reading them every once in a while so that we can get some answers, perhaps, or you know, just have more discussion. But I wanted to,
you know, Doctor, you're kind enough to be speaking at my Masterclass Health Summit that's October 23rd here in LA, and the theme of this year's summit is how you live equals how you feel.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's kind of all those problems, chronic diseases and things that you just mentioned. People are conditioned to take a prescriptive drug to suppress the symptom, to silence and muzzle your body who's trying to communicate with you, screaming at you to take better care of it. And once you pivot your thinking that way, then you'll stop trying to suppress the symptom and start asking, what is my body trying to tell me? what is happening here and what am I doing to contribute to this reaction?
Yeah, that's a great theme. That's a great theme for the day. So let's talk about the day for a moment. Let's let them know about this event. So Fran founded Cancer Schmancer. And so can you tell us about it? That's such a great name. I just love that. I just love it.
Thank you.
There's so much impact.
As we've matured as an organization, we've gotten more into whole family sickness. Yeah. And of course, cancer is the end stage of inflammation. So along that road, there are a lot of early warning whispers, a lot of inflammatory conditions that people deal with on an ongoing basis. Either they think that, there's really nothing they could do, or they can keep taking prescriptive drugs to suppress the symptom, but they're not really looking at what's causing that symptom. Causation is the name of the game. Once you identify the cause, you can eliminate it and start fortifying your body instead of muzzling it and allowing yourself to get stronger, have a more, incredible immune system, and really live a much more healthy life. So this is the window that we entered through with the Cancer Schmancer movement. We are pivoting Americans and actually people around the world with how they look at how they live and connecting that to how they feel. Yes. So we're just trying to wake up and shake up people because we've all been systematically dumbed down and numbed down to not think that we know what's good for us. We know what's right. But now we've been conditioned to thinking, well, somebody else has to tell us what's right. And it's usually big business, pharmaceutical, or, Western medicine. And there's a whole world of ancient wisdom and indigenous wisdom and Asian medical practices that are not incorporated on an ongoing basis with Western medicine. And, the way I look at it, all the woes of the world is driven by greed. So, as long as there's a lot of profit in sickness, there's never going to be cures. As long as there's a lot of profit in war, there's never going to be peace. And as long as there's a lot of profit in incarceration, there's always going to be crime. And believe me, they'll make sure of that because money is the root of all evil and greed is the systemic malignancy of all the woes of the world. So, once you kind of wrap your mind around that, then you start standing back a little bit. Maybe you're a little less trusting of the powers that be or the status quo. Maybe you start listening to other options. Maybe you start looking to the natural world and trying to be more in harmony with that to solve your dis-ease. So we explore all that at our masterclass, and your viewers can go to cancerschmancer.org and get your tickets. It's also going to be live streamed if you're unable to come in person. But if you are able to come in person, and I highly recommend it, it's a full day with organic food because we walk the talk. You're not even going to see a plastic water bottle there. Everything is in glass. And then we're going to have marvelous doctors like yourself that are talking about their specialization, but coming in it through a new window. Can you reverse arterial plaque? Well, Dr. Cowden says you can, and he's going to tell us how. And, is there a reason why nobody should get root canal? Yes, Dr. Curatola, a biologic dentist, is going to explain the problems with that. Gut health. Is the gut the brains of your brain as well as your immune system? Absolutely. And Dr. Bush is going to be talking to us about that. And the list goes on and on. We even have an expert in the truth about pet cancer. So, we have a cannabis expert, a Harvard medical doctor who got woke and realized that, cannabis needs to be a first option as a ongoing supplementation to the human body. We manufacture cannabinoids, but as we get older and as we expose ourselves to the toxic world that we're currently living in, that, like so many things, get compromised. So the need for supplementation to support the body is necessary. It's a big, fun-filled, packed day. I'm there. At the end of the day, if you buy a VIP ticket, you'll have the honor of meeting these doctors. And believe me, after that whole day, there's going to be one of them that you're going to want to get in front of and ask some questions about. And then many of them, most of them, are very accomplished authors and have donated their books in support of the Cancer Schmancer movement. So there's a fabulous bookstore where you can buy autographed copies of these wonderful speakers. So it's just a great day, and all the doctors come on their own time. And we're very, very grateful to them, because I think that, we kind of have locked elbows and partnered on this great journey of trying to shift this unhealthy paradigm and look at health and wellness and lifestyle and the choices that we make from a new point of view. We're one of the very few nonprofits in the health space that's actually challenging Americans to look at the choices they make, because we have a video with Jamie Foxx in it, and it's called Be the Change. And that is targeting teens and tweens, because they're a multi-billion-dollar demographic that's not terribly discerning. And
wait. Was that teens and queens?
Tweens. Okay. So that's like, 10, 11, and 12-year-olds.
Oh, got it. Okay, thank you.
So it's teenagers, so it's tweens and teens.
I thought it was teens and queens. I was like, whoa.
Queens. I'm the queen of queens.
Yes.
But, and that's targeting them because they're the first generation in U.S. history predicted to not live as long as their parents.
That's right.
So we don't want to make that a self-fulfilling prophecy. So Jamie Foxx, bless his heart, was generous enough to give us his time. We produced a really viewer-friendly presentation, education video, and we're very excited about beginning to strategize how we're going to put that out on social media and have it reach all the kids, because they don't vote and they don't pay taxes. So they don't wield a lot of influence in Washington, but they do with their purchasing power. And that's what we at Cancer Schmancer try to do, not only for kids that are consumers, but for adults as well. What you buy, and for that matter, what you don't buy, is not only your vote, but your protest. If everybody stopped drinking cola today, they'd stop making it tomorrow that fast, because they're not in business to lose money. So we really wield all the power. People complain, oh, global warming, this, that, or the current administration. But at the end of the day, we are the enablers of the sociopaths in big business, that ruling class elite that prays to the money god and doesn't care about us. We have to care about us, and we have to use our hard-earned dollars to make our voices known and make our protest heard, so they start giving us what's actually healthy for us and the planet, and stop irresponsible, greedy manufacturing.
Amen to that. I'm sitting here, Fran, and I rarely sit and don't say anything here, usually, but you're just like saying exactly what I would say in your words that are extremely impactful. So thank you for the message. There's a couple things I want to tell people. First, this event, we all should support this event. And how do you do it? You come to LA if you can and attend, or you register for the live broadcast of it. And so that you're there online with us all day long. And you tell your family and friends, those that may be battling with cancer or who have battled with cancer and come through the other side, tell them about this. And the more people
or even if you have chronic autoimmune problems, there are so many people that are dealing with things that the doctors say is idiopathic, which to me just means the idiots don't know what the cause is because they're not really looking at lifestyle. But, all of these problems that people have from, thyroid and arthritis and, just
brain fog and energy. And, right.
The list goes on and on of these chronic problems that, pharmaceuticals are just happy to keep giving you a pill. Oh, you have acid reflux. Okay, take this pill for the rest of your life. You have thyroid problems. Take that pill for the rest of your life. And it's like, there's got to be a better way, but they're not going to tell you that because that's going to cut into their profit margin.
Right. So let me say hello here to Claudine in DC, who was at my talk last night. Hello, Claudine. Monica Buffalini's in the house from Victoria Island or from Vancouver. Monica and her husband drove me to the airport 2 nights ago so I could get to Washington. Thank you, Monica and David. Thank you for that. We've got Janet Wright in Maryland. We've got Lena in Canada, Gabriella in Peru, Diana in Delaware, and people are here from all over the world. So thank you all so much. Karen from Ontario. Elizabeth, what's the topic tonight? The topic is Fran Drescher and what her life is devoted to. That's the topic. And so let's see, what else? Maria from Brazil is in the house. Hello, Maria, thank you. Rosemary from Ireland, and with her old Irish saying, vote with your feet, vote with your wallet. Thank you, Rosemary. Exactly right. So Fran, let me ask you, people look to you as an authority because you've gone through a life-threatening illness, and they listen to what you say. Wisely, they listen. What do you recommend when people get a diagnosis that drops them right where they are and they say, oh my God, when they get an OMG diagnosis, coming from the other side of it as you have, what would you recommend for how they look at this diagnosis? Where do they begin?
I have to say that I have learned many life lessons from this experience. Yeah. I always say that I'm not glad I had cancer and I don't wish it on anyone, but I am better for it. And silver linings immediately started to kick in. One of the life lessons that I learned is side by side with grief lies joy. And sometimes when we're mired in grief and fear, we don't notice that there's joyful things around us that abound. And it's our obligation to ourselves to notice that so that the diagnosis does not become so consuming that we lose ourselves in it and forget to notice the beauty and miracles that are everywhere, because positivity is very important during this time. Also, I think it becomes an opportunity for you to address things that maybe you haven't been able to address about yourself on your own journey of self-refinement. In my case, one of the things that I was habitual at was not asking for help, seeing myself as a superwoman, being a caregiver to everyone else, but denying myself to be cared for.
Yeah.
And defining myself as being needless.
I'm fine. Right. The I'm fine syndrome. I'm fine.
Yeah. Yes. And I think that this might be maybe more common in women. I don't know. but it certainly was a thread through my entire life. And I had already been in therapy with the end of my first marriage. And this was something that I was examining, but and in very small ways, flexing my muscle and beginning to say, let me think about that. You know, that's not going to work for me, but you have a good time or whatever. Things that I was never able to do in the past. I was probably like maybe fifth or sixth on the list of priorities in my own life.
Yes.
I did not factor myself into my own life. Everything was what was best for the collective.
Yes.
And really, it was crushing me.
Yeah.
When this cancer happened, and, you know, it was maybe a little bit more than 10 years earlier, I had been a victim of a violent crime. I was raped at gunpoint in my own home by a stranger who was on parole. And I kind of very quickly slipped into my usual superwoman mode. I can deal with this. I'll be fine. And I really did not totally immerse myself in what I was feeling and my pain and my fears. So I think it's almost poetic that my cancer ended up in my uterus. You know, I had a female cancer and I was raped at gunpoint and I didn't deal with that pain.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, it's always kind of a trifecta when you're, you know, your whatever is your problems ends up being a cancer. It's usually lifestyle, stress, and trauma. And I actually was experiencing all three as contributors to getting the cancer that I got. So right away, because I was already in therapy and had an awareness that I tend to deny myself, I decided that I was going to start, you know, not doing that for this, the universe offered me the opportunity to do it with the rape, and I didn't take advantage of it. And now I have cancer, and that has leveled me to the ground so significantly that I have to ask for help. I need help. And even on the first night, I remember I got into a fight with my sister. And my boyfriend at the time was like so surprised that my sister was arguing with me. But she kept saying, what do you want? Why don't you ever say what you want? And it's true. It was very hard for me to say what I want because I was conditioned to say what I thought was best for everybody else. And that comes from early childhood, from a dynamic that was happening in the home at the time. And that was how I figured out how to survive in the house. But it wasn't serving me well for most of my life, and certainly not my adult life. And so I had to call my parents and say I had cancer. When I was raped, I couldn't do that. I had my sister call them. I just couldn't impose that kind of pain on them. But I thought, you know, I have spent so much time and money in therapy that I have to have the courage to get beyond myself, pick up the phone and call them and say, I'm in trouble. It's about me. And that was the beginning of becoming a more well-rounded Fran. Also, another silver lining was my ex-husband, who was my best friend since 10th grade, 15, my high school sweetheart, and I were not speaking because we had divorced during the end of the nanny, and he was mad at me. He didn't want the divorce, even though later he came out as being gay. He was not really ready to face that at the time. And he was so hurt that I needed out of that relationship that he moved to New York and kind of stopped speaking to me. But when our manager called him and said, Fran has cancer, and he lost both his parents to cancer and he was an only child, he burst into tears. And in that moment, all of the anger melted away and all that was left was the love. And from that point forward, we started to rebuild our friendship. put it on a different shelf that was healthier all the way around. And now we're, best friends, and we're back to being writing partners, and we travel together. I mean, it's a really unique relationship. We created and produced Happily Divorced, which was loosely based off of our personal experience as my relationship with my gay ex-husband. So I bring all this up because
it's profound, Fran.
I've changed.
Yeah.
I'm a different person.
Yeah.
And it's directly because of that experience. So, life, look, I call myself a Buju. I'm like, I was born Jewish, but I'm also Buddhist.
Buju.
And I feel like life offers us opportunities on our journey of self-refinement for us to constantly try and take a higher path. And I did that and I do that all the time now. I mean, when something is happening, I'll say, now, why is this being presented to me? What am I supposed to do with this? How am I supposed to digest this on my journey of self-refinement?
Yeah, that's profound. Thank you so much for opening your heart and your truth. I mean, your bumper sticker, side by side with grief lies joy, is profound. That is profound. And that was the first question I had for you, is what do people do when they get a diagnosis like that? And your answer, take care of yourself. Take care of yourself first. Is how can you heal if you're suppressed? If you don't acknowledge what's going on in your life? I often talk about the emergency brake. You back out of a driveway and you say, what's wrong with this car? It's not going backwards the emergency brake. And then you let go of the emergency brake and the car goes backwards just fine. That this is one of those ways that we have an emergency brake on our healing energy, is when we don't take care of ourselves in a healthy way. And it's
Once you start realizing that this is your journey, and the purpose of it is to, become more refined as a soul. And, then everything that comes at you, every person, every experience, good or bad, becomes your opportunity. So if you can step outside of yourself and look at it from a distance a little bit, maybe you can have more objectivity about how best to handle everything that comes at you and every person that comes at you as an opportunity for you to be more compassionate, more kind, more generous, more present.
Amen to that, sister. And in that language, we're brothers and sisters. We all are. And, thank you for your openness on this. Thank you so much. So for those of you that are listening to this, I want you to send a link to your friends, your family, those that are dealing with chronic disease. What Fran just said is priceless as a component of the healing process. You have to get your head on straight how to heal. Once you find out what's going on, how do you get your head on straight to heal? And you've heard me talk about being in the pond and that you have to get out of the pond. Fran, my analogy is that when you're diagnosed with a dis-ease or a disease, diabetes, cancer, whatever it is, it's like you've fallen over a waterfall and you fell into the pond and you swim up to the surface and thank God I'm alive. And you're trying to stay afloat in the pond of diabetes, or in the pond of rheumatoid arthritis, or the pond of whatever your diagnosis is. But the water's really turbulent. The waterfall keeps falling into the pond. You're living the lifestyle that caused the problem that's eventually manifested. You got a diagnosis of. So we need a life jacket so we can stay afloat in the pond of diabetes, but you don't stay in the pond. You don't keep living the lifestyle that caused the problem.
Exactly.
You the side of the pond, get out of the water, walk up the hill, and figure out what fell in the river that carried you downstream. And that's what you're going to hear at Cancer Schmancer, is from so many of the experts in their fields, from Chris Shade talking about heavy metals, all of the list of docs that are going to be there.
Yeah, it's really, we have Bredesen, who wrote the book on reversing Alzheimer's. You'll go to most neurologists and they'll say, well, we could slow it down, but there's no cure. And in fact, you know, if you start to look at the brain disease as gut disease, you might be able to very proactively, you know, diminish or reverse the problem.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Dr. Dale Bredesen's a good friend, and he published his first paper on reversing cognitive decline in 2014. And it was 9 out of 10 patients, 9 out of 10. It took 5 years, and there were 36 things on the checklist that you had to see. Do they have this? Fix it. Do they have this? Fix it. Do they have this? Fix it. Now there are hundreds of people, fully recorded, fully documented, how they reverse their cognitive decline in Alzheimer's. And everyone's heard me talk about this before who's attended these Facebook Lives. Dr. Bredesen talks about the most common type of Alzheimer's is called inhalation Alzheimer's. It's what you're breathing. So, Mrs. Patient, if you go on vacation for a week or two, when you come home, do you have to open all the windows to air the house out? And when people say yes, oh yeah, you got mold in your house. You're breathing mold every day. So many.
You know, I won't stay at a hotel on a job unless the windows can open. It's a deal breaker, and everybody knows it. I will not take the job if they want to put me in a hotel with the windows that don't open. It's like, what is that architecture? Whoever even came up with that? It's like being in a fishbowl. I could see that there's fresh air out there. I can see that the trees are moving by the wind, but I'm in this hermetically sealed environment that's full of chemicals and off-gassing and God knows what kind of spores in their air system. People don't even realize.
No, people don't know. So I'm sitting here in a hotel room at the Grand Hyatt right now in Washington, D.C., and I'm looking at the dresser there that the big screen TV is sitting on top of. The dresser's made out of press board. It's not solid wood, it's press board. How do they make press board? They take wood chips and sawdust, they compress it together with glues, and they put formaldehyde in it. So it outgasses this stuff all the time. The carpeting, it outgasses formaldehyde. The bed sheets, the really comfortable bed, but it's soaked in flame retardant chemicals.
And so are those drapes behind you.
Yeah, exactly. The same. I know. You
know that American women's breast milk has the highest percentage of flame retardant in it from any other woman on the planet? And we're all scratching our heads wondering why all these kids have learning differences.
Exactly. Because those chemicals are brain toxic. They're neurotoxic. There's so much. And, I'm going to sit at the feet following Fran Drescher because she's lived through this. She's lived it and she speaks to it in such a way everybody can understand this. Everybody gets it, right? So Cancer Schmancer, the event is happening October 23rd. By the way, I wanted to make sure to do this. And I want to tell you, Fran, that the reason that I can come to your event is because my wife has given me permission to come. That many people know we don't have a visa yet for Marzi, thanks to our current administration. We don't have a visa. Our anniversary is October 22nd. And so when this invitation came in from Fran, I said, honey, I got invited, but I'm not doing it. What you got invited to what? Fran? I said, yeah, I'm not going. Why? Because it's our anniversary. And she said, no, you are not coming back to Europe. No, you are going to that event. So,
how sweet and generous.
Yeah,
I thank you both. She can watch us live stream in Poland.
Yes.
So that's a good thing.
Yes. So
as she said, we share the same ancestry.
That's right. Fran, there's a message here from Ron Palmer. He says, miss seeing you, Fran, XOXO. So
that's great. I'm in development on several projects. So hopefully I'll be back on the air soon.
Marvelous, marvelous. So we've got thank yous and hundreds and hearts are flying as you're talking. They keep coming. Laura Danaher's in the audience. Hi, Laura. Laura's from my staff. She lives in Fox Island, Washington. Want to do a shout out to her. Thank you, Laura, for all your work and what you do. There are so many people here, lots of hearts. They're just flying. And so thank you all for that. So Fran, for someone who, I'd like to stay with this for a moment, this concept of taking care of oneself. What's a baby step that when you were first wrestling with this concept, what were the baby steps? Was it calling your parents to say that you were diagnosed? Was that the first time that you really wrestled with this on a scale that you recognized? Or how do we encourage people who may be feeling suppressed and don't know that they can do this? They can't make themselves first. They grew up with Catholic guilt. Like, you know, I came from a Catholic background, and I refer to it as mea culpa, mea culpa, mea maxima culpa, right? My fault, my most grievous fault. Or
no.
people that have a Jewish background, you know, what do you do? How do you wrestle with this? When you and your friends talk about this concept, what?
You know, what I have learned, and I tell other people because you know, it's so common, and people who are people pleasers don't take that beat. Their reflexive response is, you know, okay, and they sacrifice themselves. So what I would encourage anybody that kind of knows that this is what their MO is to, whenever something is presented to you by anyone, say, let me think about that and get back to you. That gives you a little bit of time to sit with it and really pay attention to what your heart is telling you. Yes. It's very hard to listen to your heart when your head is telling you how to be. And we really have to tune more into our heart. It's called heart wisdom. Last year we had a shaman and he wrote the book Heart Wisdom. And it's very important that you quiet down, give yourself time, and let your heart tell you. If you find in a really quiet moment by yourself, you say, I don't really want to do that, then have the courage to call them back and say, you know, I thought about it and thank you, but I'm not going to be able to join you, or I'm not going to be able to do that, or please find somebody else, or, you know, I hear what's going on with you, but I got a lot going on with me right now, and my prayers are for you, but I'm not going to be able to be there for you right now. Yeah. And, you know, you're allowed to say that. It's okay to say that. And the more you do it, the better you get at it. And the more well-rounded a human being you become. And if it's something that you struggle with, let me tell you something. That's exactly what you should be working on in this lifetime. The stuff that you repeatedly see is your cross to bear, is what you need to face and then conquer.
Amen.
And it's difficult, but you know, we start, it's a muscle that we just need to exercise.
Yes.
And just take that beat and say, you know, I'm going to have to think about that and get back to you.
That's perfect, because that's non-threatening. People don't feel rejected when you say that. You're saying, all right, you know, all right, let me just think about that. I'll get back to you. And then do get back to them. And, you know, at some point, don't just blow them off, but do get back to them. That's just profound. I had no idea that this Facebook Live today would be pearls of wisdom. You know, I don't know you, Fran, and I do, you know, our first encounter, our first real encounter, and you're just a lovely person who has grabbed your demons and dealt with them and come out the other side as just a beautiful human being.
And so, I keep, you know, as long as we're here, there's more and more to keep working on. And right. If you look at it that way, and you look at this whole life as a big classroom for you to learn about you, then it becomes a very interesting and joyful experience.
Yes. And side by side with grief is joy. Right. Correct. There. That's just profound. Well, I want to thank you. I want to recommend everyone once again, please help us fill up the wireless world on October 23rd with Fran Drescher's Cancer Schmancer event. So if you can't
be there
in
and come
person,
see us in person.
yes,
it's at the beautiful Dorothy Chandler Pavilion at the Los Angeles Music Center, and it's an incredible day. You're going to get a pad and a pen, and you're going to take pictures of, you know, some of the PowerPoint presentations. You're going to make a lot of notes, and it's going to change your life. People leave and they go home to their families and they say, okay, we got a game plan. I know what we got to do.
Nice. Very nice. Well, I look forward to meeting you there and sharing that day and supporting you. Very much look forward to it. And I want to thank you for taking the time here with us today. And
thank you. Thank you for your generosity and your support of Cancer Schmancer. I hope everybody goes to cancerschmancer.org. At the very least, sign up and become a member. It's free. And you'll hear from me all the time and learn amazing outside of the box information. And come and support us and have a life-changing, mind-blowing experience.
Thank you again. And thank you everyone for joining us tonight. We'll see you next week.
Peace.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Peace. Be well.